All right, we got Dale in Queensland. Thanks for waiting.
How you going, Matt?
Hello.
You hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yep.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. My question is to you, Matt, is do you believe that you're an atheist?
Yes. That's the label. That's one of the labels that I use. Yeah.
Well, this is my question to you. You cannot believe you're an atheist because atheists do not have a belief system.
No. No, that's not.
Atheist. Checkmate.
Dale, that's not true. The fact that atheism is not a belief system doesn't mean that atheists don't have beliefs.
As people.
I have lots of beliefs, and all that is separate from whether or not atheism is a belief system, which it's not. I can believe I'm an atheist for the same reason I can believe I'm a male. Male is not a belief system either.
So why would some atheists say that atheism is a lack of belief?
Atheism is a lack of belief in God claims, not a lack of belief in anything.
All right. Cool. I've got other questions too. All right. Just bear with me. Matt, does it require? Is faith required to be an atheist?
No.
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 So faith wouldn't be required for you to be an atheist, wouldn't it?
No, faith is not required to be an atheist.
So if you believe you're an atheist, then how can you say you got no faith that you're an atheist? To me, it's not logical, because belief and having faith are the same thing. Don't you agree?
No, I don't agree. Faith is the reason that people give for having a belief when they don't have good reasons. Faith is not a belief. It's the attempted justification that people offer for a belief. You can believe all sorts of things, and you can believe them for good reasons, and you can believe them for bad reasons. I choose to believe things for good reasons. Well, I don't even think I choose to believe. I think I'm forced by rationality to believe things for good reasons, or to prefer to believe things for good reasons. So I'm an atheist, which simply means I do not believe that a God exists. I don't have to have faith to believe that. It's the default position, by the way. Somebody claims, hey, a God exists, and my default position is, I don't believe it. Can you prove it?
It's like the Bigfoot thing. If you say, I don't believe a Bigfoot exists, that doesn't mean that I don't have other beliefs in other things. It just means I don't believe that.
Do you believe that?
Do I believe
in Bigfoot? No,
I don't.
Well, how come it's shown on TV shows like Unsolved Mysteries?
Because it's an unsolved mystery? If it was solved, then you'd have a justification to believe it.
It's shown on TV, Bigfoot and that. You can't, yeah. My next question is... Wait,
Dale?
Yeah?
Do you believe Bigfoot exists?
No, not really.
It's shown on TV.
Yeah, even though it's shown on TV, I need to see where in history Bigfoot actually exists.
Does it take faith to not believe in Bigfoot?
Sorry?
Does it take faith not to believe in Bigfoot?
It takes disbelief, unbelief.
But that's not faith, right?
That's unbelief.
Right, so it's like unfaith.
It's unbelieving, right?
Right, so it's not faith.
Yeah,
it's not faith, it's unbelief, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So you already understand all this stuff. You already understand the exact same examples we've given.
Matt, Christians have faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think most of them would, yeah.
All right. Is atheism based on truth or fact?
I think you answered it before. It's based on unbelief.
Oh, so atheism is based on unbelief then?
Yes.
Atheism is disbelief of the God claims. It's not a position that is based. Well, the reason that I'm an atheist is because I'm a skeptic and a critical thinker. And when I am presented with the claim a God exists, and I evaluate the evidence supporting that claim, I find the evidence lacking. So I persist in my disbelief. I don't need to have evidence that there isn't a God in order to be justified.
Just like you don't need evidence there's not a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You would need evidence there is a Bigfoot, right? You don't need evidence there's not a Bigfoot to not believe it. You need evidence there is one to be convinced there is one. Until you get that evidence, you just don't believe it because you haven't gotten the evidence that makes you a believer.
And I'm a little worried at this point, Dale, because we've had a little back and forth in questions and things, and we've answered them. And it seems almost like you're reading from a script where one question necessarily follows from an expected answer from the previous one, and you're not getting the expected answers.
But he does seem to be listening to our answers. I'll give you that.
So I'm a good listener. I'll let you speak in that. I just got another question, Matt. I've been watching your Atheist Experience videos, and I noticed that you said you were a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing I want to know here from you, is when you prayed, did you pray according to God's word, yes or no?
Yes.
So you had faith that God would answer your prayer?
Yes.
So if you had faith that God would answer your prayers, would you say now that you have faith in God?
No, I'd say that I used to believe based on faith, and it was irrational of me to do so, and when I discovered that, I couldn't believe any longer.
How did you discover that?
How did I discover what?
That it was irrational.
Oh.
That God is not real.
Sure. I spent a couple years in study in the hopes of eventually becoming a minister, and I read some things that specifically challenged my beliefs. And then when I went to go seek answers, both from other believers and in prayer and in reading, and I found that the things that I assumed to be true for my entire life, or the things that I had been led to believe were true, were based on really bad evidence, logical fallacies. And so the next step of this was, okay, well, maybe some of these people just don't really have great arguments for it. There must be some good argument for it. But failing to find one of those, the only position that is available at that point is to not believe, if you care about what's true. And that was one of the critical things, was saying, I don't want to believe something just because I've always believed it, or because my family believes it, or because it kind of felt real to me at some time, or because I would prefer that it's true. I want to believe things because they're actually true. And if we can't demonstrate that it's true, then we shouldn't believe it.
My next question, I'll move on. All right. Matt, why did atheists not believe in God when atheists talk about God?
Sorry, one more time?
Because other people have a concept of God. We're responding to other people's claims about God.
The same reason that people who don't believe in Bigfoot
talk about Bigfoot.
Yeah. Well, atheists say there is no God. Well, guess what, Matt? If an atheist says to me there is no God, guess what?
What?
Hypothetical evangelist Dale Allen would say to that atheist who says that there is no God, I would say, hey, stop right there. Stop right there. The first two words you said were there is before you said no God, so there is a God.
Seriously?
There is no Bigfoot means there is a Bigfoot?
There is.
Yes.
First of all, Dale, atheism is not necessarily the assertion that there is no God. Atheism is the disbelief of God claims. Now, it's consistent with atheism for some atheists to say that they believe that there are no gods, but that's a separate proposition. So when you say, an atheist says there is no God, I have to say, no, that's not necessarily true. Just like somebody who doesn't believe in Bigfoot doesn't necessarily claim that there is no Bigfoot. But if you're gonna play a little word game of saying, "Oh, you said there is no God," and the first two words are "there is," then there must be a God. That's crazy.
Here's the thing. Like
it's basically, it's not crazy. It's just saying there is. You acknowledge God before you even say no God. So in one concept, the concept that I got was there is no God. Well, there is because you said there is, and then you say no God.
Right, you
so
negate
the word
it.
No is in there.
There's the thing, though, Dale. What you need to do is on your list of questions, plug in Bigfoot instead of God and see how they work. And if they don't fly with Bigfoot, then skip to the next question. If somebody says there is no Bigfoot, I think clearly you understand they are not saying there is a Bigfoot, right? I mean, you do understand that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so don't do the same thing with God that you wouldn't do with Bigfoot. So,
But
you know,
I'm just correcting
There's a soundbite.
what
Straws.
atheist is, because they had to say the first two words were there is before they said no God.
same with Bigfoot. But you know that a person saying there is no Bigfoot does not mean there is a Bigfoot.
Hey, you know what? I can also say no gods exist. I didn't start with there is, I started with no. So clearly, no gods exist. I'm right, right?
You said you know.
No, I didn't say I know. I said no gods
Yeah.
exist. N-O, as in none.
All right. So, I'll move on. Thanks for trying to answer the question.
Sure.
My question, Matt, have you ever, so I hear from some atheists that they know that they're an atheist, but the one thing is you got the agnostics and the atheists. You got the agnostics say that there might be a God, and the atheists say there is no God. How do you define the two?
Okay, first of all, assuming I'm not being punked for some show, the difference between Gnosticism and agnosticism address what you know or claim to know. Theism and atheism address what you believe or claim to believe. They're not mutually exclusive terms because knowledge is a subset of belief. So you could be an agnostic theist, a Gnostic theist, an agnostic atheist, and a Gnostic atheist. Any of those would be valid to say that I believe there's a God and I know there's a God, or I believe there's a God but I don't know there's a God, or I don't believe there's a God but I don't claim to know that, which is the position that most atheists are fine with. And then there's the I don't believe there's a God and I know that there's no God. And that position, depending on your definition of knowledge, may not be sound. But these aren't mutually exclusive terms, and it's not something that you can say, oh, atheists say there's no God, and agnostics say there might possibly be a God. The correct thing would be to say that atheists don't believe there's a God, and agnostics, at least some categories of agnostics, just don't want to claim what they do or don't believe.
All right. Thanks for that. Another question, Matt. Have you ever read the Bible, like from Genesis to Revelation?
Yeah, several times.
Tell me, how many times have you read the Bible?
Why?
Why? It's because every time I read the Bible, I pick up something new every time I read it.
Me too. And that's why the first time when I read it when I was a younger kid is slightly different from when I read it when I was older, and then when I read it in this process of transitioning from wanting to be a minister to ultimately ending up in atheism, I found out new things. Things that I had previously read or thought that I had read just didn't stick. So I've probably read it well, I can't really say in single sitting, cover to cover. I would guess 3 times, but the bulk of it, we're talking, I was a fundamentalist Christian for 25 plus years, and by the way, in the last 10, 11 years that I've been an atheist, I continue to read the Bible in order to be able to answer questions for the Christians who don't know what the Bible says.
Wow, that's pretty amazing coming from you. I'll move on, Matt. Thanks for trying to answer my question.
Sure.
Tell me, have you ever been taught, preached to, pastored about having a relationship with Jesus Christ?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Has anybody ever talked to you about having a relationship with
More or
Jesus
less,
Christ?
have you ever been told that you got to have a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ?
Yes. And I've also told people that too when I was a Christian and was witnessing to people.
All right, cool. Well, that's what true Christianity is all about.
According to you.
Do you believe that? I want to know from your proof there is no God. I want to know from your logical standpoint that there is no God. Like, without using science, without using evolution, I want to know how there is no God.
Okay, first of all, and I apologize because I was going to let Tracie just answer this, but I've got to jump in.
That's right.
Because first of all, as I've explained 2 or 3 times now, atheism isn't necessarily the assertion that there is no God, and I haven't asserted here that there is no God. But even if I did, for you to expect somebody to prove that there is no God and then start eliminating science and evolution is patently absurd, because science, I don't care that much about evolution in this case because it doesn't necessarily address the question, but science is the single most consistently reliable method we have for discerning the true nature of reality. And if you want to just chuck it out the window and expect somebody to prove a point without it, that is crazy. So it's like for me to tell you, I want you to prove that I don't have $100 in my wallet, but you're not allowed to ask anybody and you're not allowed to touch my wallet or look inside. Go ahead, prove it.
Well, to me, basically, you just said that you got $50 in your wallet, so why would you want to try and prove that to me?
Actually, I said I had $100 in my wallet, which goes back to your ability to listen.
$100. Sorry.
But so my point was, you're asking somebody to disprove something, then taking away the tools that might be useful for that. And that's a dishonest way to address... What's that?
That's like when some atheists talk about Christians, where some atheists say, oh, try and prove there is God without the Bible, but we need the Bible. Just like holy men of old writ the Bible, but scientists have written a book about science. How do you go about that? Science can be wrong.
Yeah, actually it can, but when you're saying don't use science, you're saying don't use a method of applying reason and skepticism to assess evidence. And when somebody says, hey, prove this without the Bible, it's because the Bible isn't a method, and it is not a demonstrable path to truth or understanding, and it won't prove a single thing. You can freely, if I say, why do you believe, you can cite the Bible all day long, and it has no more impact than if you cited Mother Goose. It does for you because you already believe it. I don't tend to tell people, oh, prove it without using the Bible, because I understand that whether they use the Bible, even their use of the Bible wouldn't get us any closer to a proof.
How do you know that, Matt?
Because old books aren't a pathway to truth about supernatural claims. These claims need evidence to support them. Are you saying that the fact that what are you saying about the Bible?
But what could be contained in a statement that could demonstrate the existence of something? How does a statement demonstrate the existence of something that is in an objective real sense?
We know that history is history, right?
Sorry, what?
History is history?
History is history, right?
Well, yeah, I'm down. I'm down with tautologies.
All right. So what I'm trying to say is, basically, can you prove to me and to everyone else over the world that there is no God without using science for evolution to try and back up those claims?
I don't even know if I could prove
yes
it.
Or no?
I don't even know if I don't even know if I could prove it using science. It would depend on the definition of a God. But I don't have a burden of proof here, and that doesn't address Tracie's question about why you think that the Bible or any statement would be enough to confirm the existence of a God or a supernatural claim.
Well, I'll answer that for her. I didn't answer it straight away, Tracie. Well, I can prove the true. Basically, history tells us Jesus in the Bible, and we go by history. I've studied history, and I've came to.
Hello?
Are you still there?
Please don't lose him now.
Oh, no, he's there.
Yeah, Dale, go ahead.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right, cool. All right. Why I can prove the Bible is true and accurate is because history proves that Jesus Christ was born of a virgin and that Jesus Christ was sinless and he came to die on a cross, and the birth of life history.
Okay, hold on a minute, Dale. You're breaking up a little bit, but let me just explain to you what my problem would be. Let's say that Jesus was born from a virgin, that we were able to test Mary's, body and say, wow, she had never had sex and there was no in vitro, and yet she had this child. And then later he's killed, he's executed, and we confirm that he was executed and killed. And then 3 days later, he's alive again, and we confirm he's alive again. That doesn't demonstrate a God exists, even if all of that is completely true.
And what's more important is that your assertion...
How does it demonstrate a God exists, Dale? How does that have anything to do with a God? You haven't demonstrated God had any hand in any of that.
When Jesus was born, it was a miracle, and basically miracles have been proved.
If Jesus was born in a way that was like no one could explain it, you still have to demonstrate, if you think a God caused it, you have to show a God exists and that a God did cause it. And you haven't done it by simply showing the miracle. Even if there was a miracle birth, you haven't demonstrated a cause. That's why the Bible doesn't demonstrate God. No matter what's in it, if you could show me every prophecy in it and demonstrate that it's an amazing, provable prophecy, that it really is real prophecy and it qualifies and it was predicted in a way that's just, we can't even explain it. And what that means, guess what, is we can't explain it. You have to demonstrate a God did it. The claim that God did it is not evidence God did it.
The Bible says that. I go by the Bible. The Bible says that.
I know you do.
It's
I know you do, and you believe the claims in the Bible, but my point is, even if everything in the Bible happened, you have not demonstrated the cause is an existent God.
Well, how can you believe science is real by just looking into what they've claimed have been throughout history of like what they've told about diseases?
That's a red herring there, Dale, because we're not talking about science. We're talking about belief in God and rejection of belief in God, and you are saying that you want to use the Bible and you feel it's unfair that somebody asks you to throw out the Bible when you're trying to prove God. And I'm trying to explain to you it saves everybody a lot of time by simply telling you don't bother using the Bible because it doesn't demonstrate a God exists. And I'm asking if you can understand why.
I can understand why. It's because history tells of the birth and the cross of Jesus. Like there's been try and say that to over 2 billion Americans that have had near-death experience and see where you come.
Near-death experience doesn't demonstrate a God. Wow. You have to demonstrate a cause, and you have not.
What about the medical science? What about the medical reports of people risen from the dead? Explain that. There's evidence of people risen from the dead. It's evidence.
Even if you could prove an afterlife, you haven't demonstrated a God.
Dale, first of all, history doesn't completely bear out your Bible in the way that you'd like to pretend it does, because there is no contemporary extra-biblical evidence that confirms any significant event of Jesus' life, including his name or his birth date or anything else. The Bible gets a number of things wrong. That's why there's a significant challenge from some historians and Bible scholars about whether or not a Jesus even existed. So history is not quite as on your side as you think it was. But Tracie's point is that even if it was, and even if all this was confirmed, what we would be left with is a mystery, because the events themselves do not testify to a cause. You have to demonstrate.
I'll lay it down the line for you. I will prove to you that God exists. I'll answer Tracie's question. God exists just by simply, you got a voice, haven't you? You can speak.
Yes, I can speak. I think that's kind of a question you don't need to ask.
Are you willing to call out to God and ask his son Jesus Christ to show himself to you in a dream or a vision?
Sure.
Are you willing to do that?
And what makes you think I haven't done that?
Well, I'm not thinking that way. You said that. But what I'm trying to say is I've seen Jesus Christ in visions and dreams, and I know that he is real just by basically seeing in dreams and visions.
Okay, well, wait a second. I can sit here and say, I can sit here today and say I'm going to call out to my mother to come visit me in a dream. And if I dream about her tonight, you're saying that means that my mother caused the dream about her and not that I was thinking about having a dream about her?
No, you said that you're going to call out to your mum, didn't you?
I said if I did say, like, Mom, come to me tonight in a dream, and then tonight, after I suggest that to myself, I have a dream about my mom, you're saying that there's some sort of miracle there where my mother caused me to dream about her and not just that I invoked that dream myself by suggesting it?
Are you trying to suggest, well, basically, what I'm trying to say is basically God is supernatural, is a spirit, and...
A dream doesn't prove that, though.
Sorry?
A dream doesn't prove that, though.
Here's the thing.
A vision does that.
Here's the thing,
Well,
Dale, is...
Why do so many people say follow your dreams for?
Wow. Okay, first of all,
Equivocation.
you said a whole bunch of little things that I really wanted to hit on and couldn't. One of them was the how do you explain that, which, by the way, is a fallacy called argument from ignorance. When you were talking about near-death experiences, your basic argument is that people have these experiences, and if we can't offer some alternative explanation, then clearly they actually did die and go to heaven and all the stories are real. That is a fallacy. It's simply not true. The other thing is that near-death experiences are one of those things that have entered the cultural mindset, so it's not really that unlikely that people would have them. But people tend to have near-death experiences and visions and things that mesh with the religious beliefs and religious imagery that they already have. Not in every case, but in most of them. And so you would be simultaneously arguing that Protestantism and Catholicism and all these various ideas with differing soteriological positions would actually be true. But moreover, what Tracie's talking about is she was like, you're claiming that because you called out to a God, and I was dumbfounded, and I apologize when you said I believe it because I had dreams, and now you're saying, well, why do people say trust your dreams or go with your dreams, whatever? Platitudes and wishful thinking does not truth make. And by the way, can you demonstrate that Tracie's mom isn't a supernatural being with the power to visit her in dreams?
Well, she's got a spirit, and that's eternal.
He thinks she is supernatural.
So you think Tracie's mom is supernatural? So
yes.
If Tracie calls out to her mom to visit her...
I didn't say that. I said, well, she's got an eternal spirit. Now...
Wait, the spirit's not supernatural?
Sorry?
Spirit isn't supernatural?
The spirit can witness the supernatural.
How do you know that?
What is a spirit?
And what the heck is a spirit then? Is it physical?
I've seen so many people talk about coming out of their bodies and going into these light tunnels and,
hey, Dale?
experiences seeing heaven and hell.
Dale? Do you believe that extraterrestrials are visiting the planet Earth and abducting people?
Sorry? Say that again?
Do you believe that extraterrestrials are visiting the planet Earth and abducting people?
Oh, you're talking about aliens?
Yes. Sorry.
Well, that's something that America's talked about, with aliens and that. But the one thing I know about is I haven't seen any aliens land here yet. Actually,
have you seen a God land here?
But the one thing is, Jesus Christ, I've seen him in a vision, in a dream.
Okay, and there's plenty of people you can talk to who will tell you of their experiences that happened late at night where an alien came in and captured them and abducted them and performed experiments on them. And by the way, you can talk to a bunch of people who are living today who will tell you this story, so you don't have to rely on old stories. You can talk to a variety of them, and their stories are very similar, and their stories seem to support each other. And then you add in things like the fact that there are people who witness unidentified flying objects, including entire groups of people. And then you add in something scientific like the Drake equation that demonstrates that it's highly unlikely that in this vast universe, Earth is the only place where life existed. And you can start to calculate a probability about whether or not those things are true. But in your case, I'm assuming that you don't believe that aliens are abducting people because you immediately went to the excuse of, I haven't seen it. Well, what you've seen is irrelevant. If you're willing to chuck away all of this evidence for alien abductions and yet accept this evidence about a God, you have different... What?
Do you believe in aliens?
No, well, do I believe in aliens?
Yeah.
I believe that it's very probable that there's other life in the universe. I can't say, I don't claim to know for sure. We might be the only ones. We might be the first ones. Other ones might have died off. I can't say. But what I can say is that it seems highly improbable that we are the only planet in this vast universe where some sort of life formed.
I think you should qualify the abduction thing.
But I do not believe for one second, but I do not believe that aliens are visiting Earth.
Do you believe in the Bermuda Triangle? Do you believe a bit what science has said about the Bermuda Triangle?
Yes, I believe what
people go missing.
Yes, I believe what science has said about the Bermuda Triangle, which is that there's absolutely nothing to what science has said about the Bermuda Triangle is that there's absolutely nothing to these mythological stories. There's nothing supernatural going on. There's nothing mysterious, and it's not a triangle, and it's not even the same coordinates. Yeah, I believe what science has to say about it.
Then where are all these people go missing to then? Explain that.
Dale, we're done. Really.
Yeah, I think we spent a lot of time.
We spent a whole bunch of time on this stuff.
I mean, and we're happy to answer your questions, but we do have other callers that have been waiting the entire show. So.
Yeah, and we've bounced around to 20 subjects, and we're right back to arguments from ignorance.
I want to have your permission to broadcast this on my YouTube account. Would I be able to do that with your permission?
Absolutely. Matter of fact,
thumbs up.
now I have to, Dale, stop. I have to direct you to the Atheist Experience webpage where the instructions, because all of our content is released by Creative Commons license, and anything that you're posting on YouTube needs to be directed back to us. So you're going to need to visit that page and follow the instructions there, but there's nothing difficult about this at all, and we will be happy to let you post to this conversation.
All right, cool. Thanks for your time, and if I've offended you in any point, forgive me if I've offended you in any way.
No, not offended.
All right, cool. All right. Thanks for your time. You have a nice day, and we'll talk again some other time.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dale.
Thanks for the warning that we're going to talk again another time. No, I'm actually, maybe we'll get further instead of kind of going back, because I can't believe we got through so many different things. And then right there again, another argument.
Causation.
Yeah. Well, how do you explain all those missing planes?
I don't know. Have you explained it? And I just didn't
By the way, the Bermuda Triangle isn't an explanation.
No, it's not.
All the stories about it is just a big mystery. Yeah. It's not like that,
Again, if it's all true, we still don't know.